Greetings and salutations, dreamers in dreamland. Welcome to the latest edition of Listen to Me, Volume 8. And let me tell you, this past weekend of boxing, it was great. Let me begin with this. Canelo Alvarez, congratulations. Canelo Alvarez was dominant in his performance over Callum Smith, becoming the unified WBA, WBC, and Ring Magazine super middleweight champion of the world, the 168-pound champion. And let me tell you this, he beat the authority at the weight, the quote-unquote authority at the weight. Callum Smith, much larger man. Canelo went in there, he took the fight to Callum Smith, and he beat that guy from pillar to post. He won just about every single round. I would consider it a shutout in my opinion. Callum Smith, I congratulate him for finishing the fight on his feet. Now, I called for a knockout, a stoppage by Canelo of Callum Smith in the 10th round. And let me tell you, Canelo went for it. He did. Canelo made every attempt in the 10th to stop him. So much so, the referee was taking a look, and Callum Smith's corner was taking a look as well. They told him at the end of that round, look, we're going to stop this fight. You got one more round. Callum Smith went out there and he put up, as much of a fight as he could in the 11th and the 12th, finished the fight on his feet. That's an accomplishment in itself. So congratulations to Callum Smith for, really being tough, being a real man, quote unquote, and finishing the fight on his feet. But the biggest congratulations go to Canelo Alvarez becoming a full-fledged 4-division world champion. 154, 160, 168, 175. He's a 4-division world champion. And let me tell you something right now. Brian Kenny, his lies continued over this weekend because according to Brian Kenny, if you watch the DAZN broadcast, the fight between Canelo and Smith, Brian Kenny says this makes Canelo a 3-division world champion. For whatever reason, in Brian Kenny's opinion, okay, Canelo Alvarez's victory over Sergei Kovalev doesn't count. Sergei Kovalev, who was the WBO 175-pound light heavyweight champion of the world. Sergei Kovalev, who has a body on his resume. Yes, that's right. Good, bad, or ugly, like it or hate it. The fact is, Kovalev killed a man in the ring. A man that Kovalev fought died as a direct result of fighting Sergei Kovalev. That's a fact. He killed someone in the ring. I'm not saying that's good. I'm not saying that's bad. It is what it is. Kovalev's a dangerous fighter. That's the bottom line. People forget Canelo Alvarez began his career at 140 pounds. His last fight before he fought Kovalev at 175, he fought Daniel Jacobs at 160. Jumped up 2 full weight classes, 15 full pounds, to fight a much larger man. A much larger man. Callum Smith was a larger man at this time. Kovalev was a larger man when Canelo fought him at 175. And look, let's not forget, Kovalev went toe-to-toe with Andre Ward, one of the greatest of all time. One of the greatest of all time at middleweight and super middleweight. That's a fact. That's not a story. He's undefeated. He's a Hall of Famer. He's an Olympic gold medalist. He's a 2-division world champion, multiple-time world champion, unified world champion, Andre Ward. Sergei Kovalev, in their first fight, many people will tell you he beat Andre Ward in their first fight. It was a very close fight. He went toe-to-toe with that guy. And it was such a great fight that Andre Ward granted Kovalev a rematch. A rematch. In the second fight, it was a different story. Yes. But the first fight, Andre Ward was on the canvas a couple times. Kovalev was bouncing him off that canvas like a basketball, and a lot of people will tell you Kovalev deserved to win that fight. All things considered, records being what they are, Kovalev has a world-class resume, okay? He went out there with Eleider Alvarez after the Ward fights and after the Ward, rivalry, and he lost to that guy, and what did he do? He beat that guy, Eleider Alvarez, and he took his belts back. He took his belt back. Alvarez, who's still to this day a top 10 guy at light heavyweight. Still to this day a top 10 guy. Yes, is Alvarez on his way out the door now? Yes, but at the time Kovalev faced him, not so much. Alvarez was in his prime, definitely at the top of his game, and Kovalev beat him in the rematch and took his belts back. So when Canelo Alvarez goes up 15 pounds, goes up from originally 140 goes up 35 full pounds to 175 pounds to fight a dangerous Russian man named Sergei Kovalev, who's got a dead body on his resume. When Canelo beats that guy, knocks that guy out, stops that guy, and Brian Kenny says it's not worth 2 pints of piss, in my opinion, there's Brian Kenny once again lying to you, lying to the viewers. I don't appreciate Brian Kenny's commentary. I don't appreciate his comments because I don't appreciate lies. Okay? This is where we tell the truth. The truth is Canelo Alvarez, full-fledged 4-division world champion. Full-fledged 4-division world champion. Full-fledged. Brian Kenny's lies, they don't count here. We don't listen to that crap. We don't buy into that narrative. We buy into the facts. Occasionally I give you my opinion. I'll let you know when it's coming. I stick to the facts. Here at Dreamland Boxing, we stick to the facts. Moving on to some more facts. Probably the most entertaining fight of this weekend was not Triple G's domination of Zenamata. It was not Canelo's domination of Callum Smith. It was actually Hyun Mi Choi and Calista Salgado on the undercard of Triple G. Now, here's another piece of Eddie Hearn's masterful promoting. He takes Hyun Mi Choi, who I want to take my hat off to her, Hyun Mi Choi, who escaped North Korea, okay? All political affiliations, opinions aside of what your opinion of their government is, just like Cuba. It's not easy to get out of there. It's not easy to get out of there. Some people never do, okay? Some athletes never do. But Hyun Mi Choi made it out of North Korea. And she became a world champion. And this past weekend, she successfully defended her title against Calista Salgado. In an extremely entertaining fight, I might add. Extremely entertaining. Look, point is this. Watch women's boxing. More often than not, the women's fights are more entertaining and more competitive than the men's. And I'll explain to you why. The women, there aren't as many fighters on a world-class level, so the top 10 fighters, the champions, they have to unify. They have to fight one another. That's why you get great fights more often than not in the women's boxing than you do in the men's. More often, you get women unifying and the women, the best, fighting the best than you do in the men, okay? And look, I can give you fights in recent memory in women's boxing and in distant memory in women's boxing that were promoted properly and that are excellent to watch. Hyun Mi Choi versus Calista Salgado from this past weekend, definitely one of them. Terri Harper versus Natasha Jonas, excellent fight. Excellent fight. Let me tell you, that fight was a draw. And let me tell you, they're going to run that one back. Both of those girls, world class. Both of them have really made something of themselves in women's boxing. Both of them have been on DAZN and been promoted on Eddie Hearn's cards. And both of them are put in a position to be successful continuously. Katie Taylor and Delphine Persoon. That's another fight. They fought twice. The first one was on the undercard of Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz in Madison Square Garden. Okay? June 1st, 2019. Excellent fight. Very close fight. I felt Delphine Persoon did enough to get the nod in that fight. It was extremely close. It was a great fight. They fought twice. The rematch was a little bit different. Either way, definitely worthy of a boxing fan's viewership. Absolutely. And again, promoted in the right way. Hyun Mi Choi on the undercard of Triple G. Okay, Katie Taylor on the undercard of Anthony Joshua. Terri Harper has graced the undercards of many different fights. Even, more distant memory. 1996, Tyson versus Bruno, the second time around. Tyson challenging Bruno for the WBC Championship of the World. That fight was very one-sided, but what fight wasn't one-sided was a fight on the undercard featuring two women, Christy Martin, Deidre Gogarty. Christy Martin, one of the greatest women boxers of all time. Revolutionized the sport, doesn't get enough credit. I love Christy Martin. Got a lot of respect for her, as I do for many women's boxers, but she really was doing it at a time when there weren't a lot of women doing it on a world-class level. And she actually was put into a position to be successful. Point being, in the United States of America, there are no promoters. I've touched upon this before. There aren't enough promoters here. Bob Arum, not doing it. He's not doing it. He's not. Al Heyman, PBC, not doing it. Not promoting the women enough. Not doing it right. Needs to be done better here in the United States, and it can be done. And as the boxing fans, you got to watch the fights. When the girls are fighting, don't change the channel. When the girls are fighting, pay attention. Let me tell you, more often than not, you're going to get a great fight. And you're going to like what you see. And it's going to be enjoyable. Believe me, I wouldn't lie to you. I'm telling you, watch women's boxing. All right, to go one step further with this women's boxing, again, I've touched upon this in the past, it needs to be promoted the right way here in the United States. It's got to be done the right way. And what better to be done than to take these girls and put them on the undercards of world heavyweight title fights, unifications with the guys. These girls need to be on the big stage. And, again, as I've touched upon in the past, if the American promoters aren't doing it and Snoop wants to promote boxing, Snoop, you got to get this one done. But, again, I want to congratulate Canelo Alvarez. And I want to touch upon this. I want to touch upon this quickly. Canelo Alvarez is definitely the top pound-for-pound fighter in the world, in my opinion right now. The official number one for my pound-for-pound list will definitely be Canelo Alvarez. Now, Manny Pacquiao is still the most accomplished, but he hasn't fought in nearly 18 months. Not since July 20th, 2019, okay? He did go out there and beat Keith Thurman. He did, even though he was past it. Like Kovalev was past it in Brian Kenny's opinion. Pac-Man was past it. He still was still good enough to beat Keith Thurman, to knock that guy down in the first round and to beat that guy up and take his title. I don't discount what he does because of his age, but he hasn't been active in 18 months. And he's not going to be fighting in January. And Pac-Man, his next fight will likely be a circus event against Conor McGregor. It will not be against a contender for his WBA, super, full-fledged welterweight championship. So therefore, Manny Pacquiao is no longer the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the world, in my opinion. On my pound-for-pound list, Canelo is number one. So congratulations to Canelo. And, each and every one of you out there, I want to wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. And again, I love each and every one of you, but not near equally. Until we meet again, Dreamers in Dreamland. I'm the Dream. Peace.